Good day. Today we're going to take a look at the RadioMaster Zorro radio controller. We'll go over its features, take a quick look inside the Zorro transmitter, and check out its battery internal charging capability. Once we've got it charged, we'll power it on, do some initial setup to include gimbals calibration, and our first Zorro model setup. Then I'll demonstrate how to flash your Zorro's internal ExpressLRS module with the latest ELRS firmware to ensure both our module and receiver have the same initial option settings, which are required in order to bind them successfully. This is a little bit different than with other transmitters, so you want to stick around for that. We'll wrap things up by making sure we've got our RadioMaster Zorro bound to our ExpressLRS receiver and take the Zorro out for a short flight. This Zorro radio controller comes in 5 different radio versions using different internal radio frequency options as shown on this chart. The one I've got here is the Zorro ExpressLRS version that operates internally in the 2.4 GHz band. It also comes with a light or nano-sized module bay that you can add an external 900 MHz ExpressLRS Nano module here on the back, so you can actually have the best of both ExpressLRS worlds if you want the 2.4 GHz band and the 900 MHz band. The 900 MHz band offers better penetration flying through and around objects like trees and buildings. However, according to Mark Spatz of UAV Tech, who's done some extensive end-to-end latency and jitter testing, his video on that subject is linked below. Using the 900 MHz band with a lower packet rate can add a few milliseconds of latency over that of the 2.4 GHz band in certain situations on the order of about 5 milliseconds or less. So there may be a little trade-off in that regard. Let's take a look at some of the other Zorro features. One of the first things you're going to notice is this nice 128 by 64 LCD screen, which makes navigating through the menu system easy. We'll see that here shortly after we charge the batteries and power it on. It does have Hall sensor gimbals, which is nice. These are adjustable, by the way. You can adjust the stick travel from 54 to 38 degrees to custom fit your individual reach simply by turning these adjustment screws. When we flip the Zorro over, we can adjust the gimbal's springs tension to make it more or less taut by turning these screws, once again depending on your personal preference. You can even change the Zorro from mode 2 to mode 1 if you'd like by turning these adjustment screws. The Zorro's antenna is foldable, and you can also add an external antenna if you'd like, because it comes with a ready-made hole and connections inside for an RSMA connector. This ELRS version of the RadioMaster Zorro has a max power output of 250 milliwatts with the internal ELRS module, which is more than enough with this protocol for extremely long flights. In fact, here's a snapshot from the ExpressLRS site with some examples of max ranges pilots have been able to achieve at only 10 milliwatts and 100 milliwatts at both the 2.4 and 900 megahertz frequency bands. When we open up this little latch, here we have our SD card slot, and the Zorro does come with its own SD card to get you started. This is your USB-C port for firmware upgrades and sim use. It even has audio out and trainer ports. In my previous videos on both the RadioMaster TX16S and TX12, I mentioned I was impressed with how RadioMaster pays attention to the little details in their designs. Let me show you another example. The Zorro radio controller has built into it accessory mounting screw holes on each side and underneath here at the top. What do you use these for? Anything you want. Got a fun, crazy idea for a 3D print to customize your own transmitter? Just print it out and screw it on. The Zorro comes with a bunch of different types of switches. It's got 2 3-position switches, 2 2-position switches, 2 slider wheels, 2 momentary push buttons, which you can program for your own particular needs, and 2 auxiliary momentary buttons, one on either side of the module bay. Let's go ahead and take a look at this module bay. It's a nano-sized module bay that's compatible with the TBS Nano module, Nano Tracer, Ghost, or as we saw earlier, the 900 MHz ELRS Nano module like I have here. So how's the Zorro feel in your hands? Well, I'm not used to this type of form factor, but I have to say, the Zorro feels nice. I can easily get used to this. It's got these soft rubber grips which make it easy to hang on to. These come off, are replaceable, and upgradable to leather ones should RadioMaster decide to come out with those as they did for the TX16S. This is where you insert your 18350 batteries. RadioMaster has their own brand of these 900 milliamp hour lithium-ion batteries, which I have here and are also linked below. You can charge these batteries while they're still in the Zorro transmitter through this USB-C charging port here at the bottom that supports Quick Charge 3.0 fast protocol charging, as long as you have a QC3 compatible charger and cable as I have here. I've got links to these in the video description below as well. In addition to the internal 18350 batteries, the Zorro supports an external 2S LiPo or lithium-ion battery you can connect through its balance lead here and secure in place at the bottom using these two attachment slots here, where I've just inserted some zip ties for the purpose of this demonstration. In this case, I'm using an RDQ series 3500 milliamp hour LiPo. Plug in the balance lead. I'm sure there's a more elegant way of doing this, but this will do for the purpose of demonstration. RadioMaster has even come out with an XT30 to 3-pin JST cable as an optional accessory for this purpose should you need it. By using an external battery, you can increase your Zorro's operating time, especially if you're using a high-powered external module attached to the module bay. Let's take it apart and see what's inside. To get inside, we need to remove these 8 screws. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you've got to take the batteries out of the battery bays. 7, 8. And then carefully remove the back plate. You've got wire connections here, so make sure you don't pull them too hard. Here's what it looks like inside. Everything looks to be solid and secure. Nothing really jumps out at me. Looks well built. Let's go ahead and try out the Zorro's internal charging capability with the Quick Charge protocol. Plug the USB cable in here. Now, as you can see, we're starting out with a battery voltage of 7.1 volts. I'm going to go ahead and speed this up so we can quickly see the results. I'm going to turn this off. Plug in my wall charger and plug the other end of the USB-C cable into the wall charger. And we get this red light that comes on. And I'll time this to see how long it takes the batteries to be fully charged. So after about 25 minutes, the red light went off, and I'm going to guess that means it's fully charged. So that took about 25 minutes using the Quick Charge protocol to fully charge these RadioMaster 18350 lithium-ion batteries from the resting charge. Of course, you can also charge the batteries externally if you'd like, using one of these inexpensive 18350 dual battery chargers you can get online and linked below. It's time to power it on.
Welcome to HTX.
And you can see here the battery's been charged to 8.1 volts. Let's check out its firmware. It supports both OpenTX and EdgeTX firmware, and the Zorro comes with a cutting-edge technology, specifically EdgeTX firmware installed. When you need or want to update the EdgeTX version, RadioMaster recommends using EdgeTX Buddy, which I've got linked in the video description below. Zorro OpenTX firmware is currently being worked on in the OpenTX Nightly build and is expected to be officially released in OpenTX version 2.3.15. Let's go ahead and do some of our initial setup and create our first model in the RadioMaster Zorro. First, we're going to go ahead and check out our channel order, make sure it's the correct one that we want. I'm an AETR guy, so we're going to make sure it's an AETR. Press the system button, page over to radio setup. I'm going to scroll up to get to the bottom of the menus. And here you see RX channel order is AETR. That's the one I'm used to. You can change this to different ones, but I'm going to leave this to AETR. We're also going to check our mode. Here we have mode 2, which is what I fly, with the yaw and throttle on the left stick and the pitch and roll on the right stick. So that's set up the way we want it. We scroll back down. I'm going to change the date. Today is actually the 26th when I'm recording this video. I'm also going to change the time. My time is 16:18. The battery range, this was at 8.0 or 8.1, I believe. I've already changed this to 8.4 because if you look in the quick start guide, you see here that the operating voltage range is 6.6 to 8.4. We're also going to take a look at the 6.6 value here in the RadioMaster Zorro and adjust that. We'll leave this lower number at 6, but scroll down here, and this battery low voltage is our alarm. So we don't want it at 6.5 if the operating voltage is from 6.6 to 8.4. We want the alarm to go off before it reaches 6.6. So I'm going to change this to 6.7. And I think that should do it for our initial radio setup in this menu. Let's go ahead and calibrate the gimbals. We'll return out of here. Go back to the system menu. Page over to hardware. And we want to calibrate our sticks. So we're going to press enter. Press enter to start. And we're going to set the sticks at the midpoint. And what's nice about this is the gimbals actually have a little slot. I don't know if you can see that or not. That lines up with a slot over here on the outer edge, and that should be your midpoint. Same thing over here. So we'll line those up. We also have these sliders S1 and S2. These also have little notches in them. You can't feel the detent when you're moving them, but it has a little line here that matches up with this little line here as the middle point. So we'll go ahead and put those in the middle. Same thing on the right side. You can see these two little lines line up. And then we'll go ahead and press enter. We're just following the instructions on the screen. Move the sticks, pots, when done. So we're going to move them gently to their full position up top, down at the bottom, left, and right. We'll recenter it. Same thing over here. Top, bottom, left, right. And then we'll move the sliders as well to their max positions and then center them again. And then we're going to press enter when we're done. We just calibrated our sticks. Let's set up our model. So we're going to push our model button. And it turns out it looks like RadioMaster's already got some default models set up for us. I'm going to go ahead and modify the Zorro model. And to do that, we're just going to press the page button. Model name Zorro. And I'm going to go over to the mixes page. And I want to put my arming switch on the 2-position switch here, E, switch E, and it's already set up for that. I'll just go ahead and name it ARM. And then press return to get out of here. And then I want to set up a beeper on channel 7, which is the way I've got it set up in Betaflight. And I want my beeper to be one of these momentary push button switches here, which is D, switch D. So I'm going to go down to channel 7 for my beeper channel and set that up, and we'll call that beep. And then press the return button to escape from that entry. Scroll down, press the enter button, and then instead of scrolling, which you could do, I'm just going to go ahead and press switch D button, and it should autofill, which it does. And then we press return to escape from that entry position. Exit out. Then we've got our arm switch on switch E and our beeper on switch D. And that's really all we need for our initial setup on our Zorro model. So we're good to go. Now that we have our first model created, it's time to prep both our Zorro and our quads receiver for binding. RadioMaster's worked closely with the ExpressLRS dev team to ensure the internal ELRS module is supported. So before we do anything else, let me demonstrate how to go about flashing your Zorro's internal ELRS module with the latest ExpressLRS firmware to ensure both our module and receiver have the same option settings initially in order for them to bind successfully. The first thing we need to do is install the latest ExpressLRS configurator on our computer. So we go to the ExpressLRS site, quick start, download the latest configurator, and I'm using Windows, so I'll download this one, which is down here. Once it's downloaded, I like to save it to a folder I've created on my computer for ExpressLRS. Then we just double click on it to run it. Now depending on when you're watching this video, you may be able to go to official releases, select the latest official release, and your device category would be RadioMaster 2.4 GHz, and your specific device would be RadioMaster Zorro 2400 TX. Then you just fill in your device options as you normally would. As I'm recording this video, the latest official release does not yet include the RadioMaster Zorro. So I'm going to go over here to Git branch and select Duple TX Pass-Through as my version. Then under device category, RadioMaster 2.4 GHz shows up, which I'll select. For device, I now have RadioMaster Zorro 2400TX, which I'll select. Now I can go ahead and select my flashing method and choose the device options I want to set. For updating our internal ELRS module, we're going to select Edge TX Pass-Through. This option is not for external modules. I'm going to choose a binding phrase, and I'll leave all these other options as default. Before I do anything else, I'm going to download the Lewis script and save it to a folder on my computer. We'll use that here shortly. Now we're going to power on our RadioMaster Zorro.
Welcome to HTX.
And at this point, we want to page over to our hardware page and scroll down and make sure we've got our internal module set as Crossfire, which we do. Then we also want to make sure on our model setup that we've got our external RF mode as off, because we want the internal RF mode on. Next, we're going to connect our RadioMaster Zorro to our computer through the USB cable. I've got it already connected to a USB hub, so I'm just going to push a button. At this point, a pop-up menu appears, and we want to scroll down to USB serial and select that. From here, we just select Build and Flash and wait for it to successfully complete. This could take a few minutes when doing it for the first time. Success! Outstanding! Once it's successfully completed, I'm going to disconnect the USB cable and power cycle to reboot the Zorro transmitter.
Welcome to HTX.
Now remember that Lewis script file we saved to the computer? It's time we get that on our Zorro. All we have to do is power on the Zorro,
Welcome to HTX.
reconnect it to the computer through the USB cable, select SD storage, and our Zorro drive shows up over here on the left. Grab the Lewis script file and copy it over to the Zorro SD card drive shown on our computer. We need to put it in the Scripts Tools folder. And now that it's copied over, we can disconnect the USB cable, go to our Tools menu, scroll down here to ExpressLRS, and press Enter. Here we see all of our options have been displayed correctly, and we can change our power output down here if we'd like. Anywhere from 10, 25, 50, 100, or 250 milliwatts. I'll just leave mine at 100. At this point, our RadioMaster Zorro is ready to go. We just need to flash our RadioMaster EP1 receiver with the same binding phrase and using the normal process outlined on the ExpressLRS site for the Happy Model EP receivers. We can use either Wi-Fi flashing method or Betaflight pass-through. I've already gone through this process in a previous video, which you can check out in a link below. Once our receiver has been flashed, with our Zorro transmitter powered on, we just power cycle our receiver and it should bind automatically to the transmitter. Let's check it out. Looks like we're good to go. It's fly time. Well, that's going to do it for today. Let me know what you think of the RadioMaster Zorro. Thanks for your time. I'll catch you next video. Clear skies, friend.